Howdy, everybody. Welcome to episode 1 of our Preparing for Nats season, where we're going to do our best to tell you guys, show you all how we are preparing for the national season, for specifically the NAWCQ, which apparently is going to be important to specify given the Battles of Legend kerfuffle. I am here with Adam,
Hello.
Hunter.
Dog, did you say kerfuffle?
I did, yes.
Hi.
I think its fuffle is sufficiently curd. Up next is Nick
Hello.
and Sam.
What's up?
All right. So basically, what we're going to do for this first episode is we're going to be breaking down the decks that we're going to expect to see at our Nationals run, and we're going to put them in the tier list based off of how many top cut slots we think they will receive. We also could order them in terms of how many we think we will fight on our way to the top. Best deck being the best deck, of course. We're going to play that a good chunk of the day, maybe like a third of the games to a half the games are going to be that deck. Lose to Lancey.
I think we should talk about overall representation in the room, and then we could talk about how many the general idea of how it's going to do in the tournament.
Sure.
I think there's a distinction between what we think everyone might play versus how good we think a certain deck is.
Yeah, I get that. Next tier is loses to Lancia. This is the Malice tier. This is decks that are pretty good, but are not going to be as good as the best deck. Probably going to see similar, but a little less representation as the best deck. Again, this is the Malice tier. Not an FDK is a deck that I would think we would call this tier 2. It's good. It's not going to be a majority of Top Cut by any means. You will probably see it in Top Cut, though. These are decks that are like guaranteed 1 to 3 ofs, I'd say, in Top Cut. Shake's Head, this is decks that may or may not make Top Cut, could really go either way. And then Ice Barrier is decks that we will not see in Top Cut. And again, I'm saying like see in Top Cut, see in the room, whatever. I think it'll be roughly the same, I think. All right, so let's get started.
Sounds good.
I think that we can start this uncontroversially. Best deck is Rise Heal Mitsu. I think this will be also like the most popular deck in the room by like a country mile. I don't see a world where the majority of good players don't play this deck unless they like particularly want to play something else or they are particularly good at something else. Like unless you're Jeff Jones, you're probably going to be playing Rise Heal Mitsu.
I want to disagree with you, but this deck's really easy to play, and it benefits you for just playing it because it just deals with all of its issues on its own. Like in general, it has so many outs to so many issues.
He wants to disagree, but he sadly will not be disagreeing.
I mean, I agree with Nick, though. This deck is just so simple. Like, you can just pick
It's
this
not
deck
hard.
up and play it for maybe one locals, and you'll have a good grasp on how to use it.
Yeah, on like the Tempai to branded scale, it's definitely on the Tempai end of it, but
It'll definitely be the most popular deck.
Yeah, I think that ease will contribute to the amount of people playing it. Plus, there's just so many deck lists, top cut deck lists going around that for average player just looking for something, they're going to see this deck everywhere, and then they're also going to realize when they take it to locals one time and they destroy everybody by just activating like X'd and the ritual spell, that they're probably just going to stick with it.
right. I think that the next 2 decks that we have on the order are much more interesting to talk about. That being Pure Mitsu and Mitsu Fiendsmith. I think these decks are almost as good as the original Rise Heal Mitsu, but I don't think they're going to be nearly as represented. I think they're probably going to be like around here in terms of representation. They'll get 1 to 3 top cut slots each for sure. But like, I think, and they have like strengths that Rise Heal Mitsu doesn't cover. But I think if you're going to play a Mitsu deck, you're probably just playing Rise Heal Mitsu.
I mean, with Mitsu Fiendsmith, some people are also playing that with the Rise Eel. So
That's true. People are playing like all 3 of them in like a 60 card list that Triff has posted.
Yeah, I can agree there, but I think the beauty of these 2 decks is the reason that you would opt to choose these. I want more specifically certain interactions because both these decks of the Pure Mitsu and Mitsu Fiendsmith, inherently speaking, can play Dominus Impulse. We've seen a lot of lists lately that have been playing the Fiendsmith cards and still playing Dominus Impulse and just saying, if I go second and I Dominus Impulse, I just won't go into the Fiendsmith cards.
Are we also going to talk about hand traps as we do this, or is that going to be
That's going to be its own
a
thing.
separate
That's going to be its own thing.
Okay, because okay.
Yeah. I think in terms of power, these 2 are up here. I think in terms of representation, they'll be down here. Is that like uncontroversial?
Yeah, I guess that's just kind of the way it is when you're the second most popular variant of the clearly best engine. You're gonna get way lower representation than you deserve in a vacuum, I guess,
Yeah.
for the
I can
reason.
agree
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
Next up on the list is Malice. I could see Malice going here. I could see it going down here, but I think it's going to be right here. Definitely going to be, in terms of overall representation, the second most represented deck in the room.
Probably
People
I could see Pure Mitsu kind of taking off. I know Joshua Schmidt posted he finished first in Swiss at
Mhm.
French Nationals with Pure Mitsu, and his logic was pretty compelling, honestly.
Mm-hmm.
Um, like it does seem like it. Sorry, I know you meant to talk about Malice, but I just wanted to
No, you're
say
good.
that real quick. Uh, it seems like it has a lot of advantages in that like you just don't care about any of the charmies. I mean, Droll can be bad, but like, and then if you really do, if you value Dominus Impulse, right? That was what was mentioned previously. I wouldn't be the Fiendsmith version. I think could be pretty niche, but I wouldn't be surprised if you saw just as much pure Mitsu as Malice or close. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I think that people who are going to want like a meta call might be gone pure Mitsu.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's basically like Josh said. He basically viewed it as a meta call for like people playing only turn-ending hand traps.
Yeah, because this loses to real interaction.
Yeah, yeah. It loses to like you actually, playing through their board of like two interactions. But like
Yeah.
most of the decks right now don't do that. So
Yeah, I think in terms of representation though, I think that Mouse is still going to be above it a good chunk.
I can
probably.
agree there. The only thing this is like a big brain idea. It's like I think if you're a good player and you're going to the nationals, the only world in which I think you take Malice to Nats is if that's the deck you've been playing for the last 3 to 4 months. There's no world in which you could justify saying I'm gonna play a deck that post game one is guaranteed to get screwed over by a cards like Lancia, Chaos Hunter, Dominus Impulse in the Mirror. Like it doesn't have any benefit, or at least the Mitsu stuff inherently says I don't lose to the Charmies. Like
Yeah, I get that, but I think that like beyond like in terms of like power level, I think Malice is like down here. But I think in terms of representation, strictly, it's going to be right here.
Makes sense.
This deck is bad.
think-
I need to tell everybody this deck is super bad.
Yeah, I'll be
Well-
honest. I don't think I don't think the deck is very good. I honestly really don't. Which is crazy considering how we all thought it was going to be before.
Listen, we received many messages in the chat being like, we're entering tier 0 Mouse, and I remember being there being like, this deck is actually bad.
I will say this.
I mean, we do have a different format than OCG, right? So when we look at OCG data, like we don't have Habakiri, to look at.
I think that if Mitsu wasn't there to bully Malice out of the top deck slot, Malice would be the top deck.
I think that's fair. I also think there's a big player difference. I think if you're an average player playing Malice compared to like a very good player playing Malice, they're like two different. The deck is completely different.
Yeah.
Yeah, whereas I feel like Raziel Mitsu, it's like the margins between like a good player and mediocre player it's pretty small.
Right. Next up is just the Ryziel decks. I guess we'll start with the Onomat. I think it's just gonna be maybe a slot. I would probably put it down here, but maybe it'll get one.
I don't know. Only Nick can
Representation
read
wise,
these cards.
this deck has the potential to do well at Nats. The representation just isn't going to be for the deck. We're getting all the stuff in Duad. In general, like the stuff has a lot of potential. It just isn't going to be enough. Like I think that's going to be its biggest downfall. Is fact there just isn't enough people playing it.
Yeah, this deck like coming out. The Duad like release decks are fighting an uphill battle, but I also think they get like an artificial boost because no one, at least your rounds like 1 through 7, no one's gonna know how to deal with those cards. Like Vanquish Soul and the Onomat cards, I think are gonna get a big boost from day 1, but by day 2 it'll crater off.
Is Lunalight?
Lunalight's also is Lunalight on this list actually?
Lunalight.
It is.
Yeah,
yes.
it is. It's at the bottom.
Is this one?
Oh, that guy. Yeah, that's
Okay.
Liger.
I'll put him up with Orchest. Sam's got a lot to say about Lunalight.
Well, I don't know about a lot, but
Sam has a Sam has more to say about Lunalight than I do. Heraldic, I do think 1 or 2 of these guys will top, assuming we get like a top
I don't think this
64.
deck is real.
So I'm gonna argue with you. I think that deck goes in the same level of the pure Mitsu / Mitsu Fiends with the deck. I think people at this point have realized that this format is a format of just turn any hand traps, and the way you beat this kind of format is you play a deck like Heraldic Rises that says, if you don't drill me, you will lose the game. And it's the only thing it takes the massive L to, otherwise that deck just insta wins. And you see people over in Europe who are just main decking cards like Salesman, just first action, draw, and then just play.
Well, I mean, but that also goes for the automat version of Ryziel, where it's like, if that deck sets up even half the board it should, like, you're not breaking.
But I think there's gonna be a level of like comfort because this deck's been around and people have been playing with it, so it's a little bit different.
I feel like if you're
Yeah,
gonna
that's
lose
fair.
to Droll and play Ryziel, you would just be playing Mitsu though.
I mean, yeah, but not everyone wants to play.
What is the heraldic thing are they actually setting up like an FTK thing, or
The heraldic cards in general offer the potential to end on like I think the heraldic engine on its own gives you like 4 additional rank 4s, so you get to just kind of just do whatever you want. Like there's some people that do the hand rip setup with Ouroboros. There's some people that do the like a general like full board with every interaction you can think of.
but like if I Fualos that deck, like are they gonna give me 20 draws? Like are they gonna like actually set up an FTK, or are they gonna like stop?
That's something I'm not quite sure on.
I
But
think they're giving you
Okay.
like 4 billion draws to do a lot, admittedly, but they're giving you 4
I mean,
billion
if they're
draws to do it.
making, I mean, if they're making 4 additional rank 4s, like, you're getting draw.
Yeah, I think they're better into Perulia, but worse into Meows. I think that's how it works.
Okay, I don't expect Meows to be very meta
No,
at this event.
I agree with that. I think Meows is going to be only if you're running like 4 billion hand traps in the main deck. Meows will be, but we can talk about that in about 30 minutes. I don't know. I feel pretty confident just putting this guy exactly right here.
I think it's fair. I'm just saying that deck in general just had an uptick leading up to our Nats. So I'm just saying there's a high likelihood that deck does do better than we're giving it credit for.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Um, Nick, you want to talk about Fiends with Ryziel?
I love this deck with a burning passion, but it's got the issue it just doesn't have engine. Like you will draw like if this deck if you could just guarantee you saw engine every single game you played this deck, I think this deck unironically is in the same category of the Mitsu stuff. Because I think it does very well.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't if you just can't do that. That's its biggest like issue.
Yeah, I think it's definitely tops of Shake's head.
That's probably fair. Unless someone wants to disagree.
Yeah, I think a good player could do well with it, but I
Yeah.
think unfortunately you're probably gonna like with all the lower engine Ryziel variants, like the Fiendsmith or the pure version, you're just probably gonna lose games you shouldn't because you're just bricked.
Yeah.
And that's how it felt when I was taking this deck to regionals. Like after the hits, like I was just drawing hands of like, oh, I have 5 non-engine but no starter. Pass. If they don't
Right.
kill me, but I can't top deck into an engine card to save me.
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem with a lot of these these Ryziel decks. Is like the question when you talk about sub engines like Heraldic, Fiendsmith, and the Automat. Most questions just come back to why am I not just playing the blue cards?
Next up on the list is Pure Ryziel. Not happening. I don't
I
see where
agree.
you play 2 ice, 2 X, and 2 sword, and you're doing well. Next up, and I don't know really where to put these. I could see these going in not an FTK and lose to Lancia. I think these two are kind of like in the same ballpark, Mermail and Memento. I think I probably put them down here.
I think if we're going in terms of what I expect to play against, I agree. If I think we put them in how good they are, I'd put them up.
I think
personally.
if how good they are, Mal is going down here. But no, I think
Yeah,
that
my-
these are probably the third,
Yeah.
fourth ish represented decks in the room.
And I
Yeah.
may be crazy. I mean, someone can tell me if they really disagree with this, but I honestly think Mermail is the best non-Mitsurugi deck. Like, I honestly think this. But in terms of like what you're gonna expect to play against, I'm not saying that it's gonna be there. It's just
yeah. How
my
about
opinion.
this? Let's do representation here, and then we'll rearrange for power level at the end of it.
yeah.
Okay.
That works.
So,
So, I can fully agree with what Sam's saying. Like, I think that's very fair. But I think the issue is like, inherently speaking, there just isn't like I don't think people will dedicate themselves to playing this deck because I think people have this like weird mindset because of the hits that happened in the last list. They're like, oh, this deck's dead. It's the same thing with like the Fiendsmith Ryzo deck. People just thought it was dead, but didn't give it any time to see if it actually was or wasn't.
Yeah, I think Memento is similar. Like, not that it got a hit, but just that like it's a really difficult they're more difficult decks to play. You have to spend a lot of time playing them, and it's like, or unless you were playing them in the previous format, you probably just picked up the Mitsurugi cards, right, and just played those instead.
I think for like either of these decks, you gotta be like practicing. Like I picked up Mermail like 2 weeks ago, and I'm like, oh, maybe I won't be ready for Nats.
Like they really do just like both these decks just reward a person that's like played them for months.
Right, but
And, like,
I feel like if you've had a person like playing this for a long time, it really does feel like you're playing close to the best deck. Just in my personal experience with Mermail, I don't know, Hunter, if you feel the same on Memento. I don't really feel like I'm playing like a worse deck than anyone else. The Mitsurugi stuff is a little tough, but when I'm playing as Malice, I'm not gonna lie, I feel like I'm playing a better deck every time.
when it comes to Memento, it's very much all player dependent. Like if you are playing even somewhat subpar, your deck feels like at least 3 times weaker than the best deck. But if you play it at a very optimal level, like you feel like you are not at all at a disadvantage.
I think if you run into these decks, depending on the round you're in, you should be very scared. Like if it's like round 9 and I'm playing against someone playing Memento, I'm not happy about that. That means that person's probably pretty good.
I will also say these are like the top 2 decks that I do not want to give Charmy draws.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm stopping. I'm stopping whatever the fuck I'm doing the second these like they charm me on. These
And
decks.
it's like what and I don't know about Memento as much. Memento just does a good job of just setting up good stuff without giving you infinite draws. I think Mermail has more of the what he was discussing as the heraldic thing, where it's like unless your deck literally plays, unless you draw 3 Imperm and the 10 cards, or you draw Imperm Nib, then like your 17 cards don't beat the Mermail M board,
Mm-hmm.
For most decks that don't play Super Poly droplets, like there really is no other way.
Well, Memento's also like a deck. Like if you end on a half board trying to avoid giving them draws, they can set up 8,000 between Combined Creation and Creation King, and in combination with like Akrohiron that they can loop in pretty easily. Like they can kill you without even having to interact with your board.
Yeah, Akihiron's a bastard.
Yeah.
That's the bat.
Also water monster, by the way, for my Mermail duelists out there. Be aware of that.
Beware.
Yeah, you can Mellotronus target statue and summon Akrohiron.
Not if it's untargetable, but yes.
That's true.
You spent 1 Imperm targeting the Neptibus or the guy in the Link 3. Yeah. And you spend the other guy.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. It's like Memento is a deck you actually like. Well, do I want to give him 17 draws because this deck plays Super Poly droplets, right? So,
good cards.
Next up are like the Primite decks, I would say. Primite Fiendsmith and Primite Blue Eyes. I am Blue Eyes'
probably
biggest
put Primite Fiendsmith in Ice Barrier, and I probably put Primite Blue Eyes in like the middle category. I think there'll be a decent amount of people playing that deck.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, people just want bad chess.
True.
I think the deck's, if you're a good player of the deck, I think you get rewarded for knowing how to play around everything.
I think when you draw playable hands, that deck is fairly skillful. It's just you're like I think good players are not going to gravitate towards it because you're just going to draw like awful hands that give you no agency too often. But yeah, I can agree overall. If you're drawing decent, that's pretty skillful.
Yeah. Next up is Live Twin. Want more YCS wins than Malice, but I think it'll be down here.
Yeah, I don't know.
I almost put in Ice Barrier. Like this deck does not look impressive at all.
You see, I could see Live Twin topping, so I don't. It's already better than.
It is possible. Yeah, it's definitely possible.
It is possible for a meteor to hit the Earth too.
It's true.
That's true.
When the deck works, if you don't get Fluid or like Fluid that much, the deck's really good. But it's like the second you get Fluid, like you lose so much like advantage on this deck. It's insane.
Yeah, this deck is funny.
I'm also just the other problem is like this engine's just not really doing. You play like this whole 10 card package that's like a normal summon. It's like very underwhelming going second, right? I mean,
yeah, this deck cannot go second.
Yeah, you have to hand trap your opponent to death, and this is not the format to.
It's got the Malice problem, but it also loses to Bestials.
Yeah, and that's something else I wanted to talk about, and I didn't get to say this, but the reason I think Mermail is so broken right now is that I think Bestial stocks are going way up.
Oh yeah.
Dude, and it's just like so free. If I guess Malice player with 6 Bestials in their deck game one, it's you can't lose. Like it just literally feels like you can't lose.
Next up is I'm gonna say Punk for the other decks that are in Battle of Legends. Regenesis Cash. I
One
think
of
it's in
them
one of
might
these
top.
two.
I think one can get through that. If that deck has a good day, like it doesn't care about any of the charmies except for Perulia. Droll can hurt, but you can play around it. Like the deck's got it's like decently well positioned. You just have to have a good day.
The more I've played
Adam,
against
are
this
you for
deck,
like
the
sure
more
playing
convinced
this?
I've become.
No, I'm not for sure playing it.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
I would
Frank
put
did the
money
stealth
down.
report.
I'm kind of leaning towards it right now, but
Probably put it right there. I think it's tops of Shake's head right now.
yeah.
More combo schlop. I don't think Whitewood's is
Deck's
gonna make it.
ass.
One could
Yeah,
top. I could
This deck
see it.
sucks.
This deck literally lost power from getting its support just because now people know what they're doing.
Yeah, and like if you want to play a deck that loses to Droll and loses to Perulia, like play Mitsu.
But this deck like actually loses. Like it's
Oh, yeah.
like we say this all the time. Like card is good against something. You go, oh, it loses to this. No, yeah, it's different. White Forest like actually
Yeah, it's good in Nafua
loses.
now, right? It's good in Nafua now.
It has you
Yeah,
can summon the
kind
big. You summon the big guys. Yeah.
Like you do stuff on your opponent's turn. I've heard a lot about it. It's not like the most impressive thing.
Yeah.
It's another thing that's like if you're a good player, maybe you can catch some people off guard, but like otherwise,
Crystron, I think it's probably.
I think
this tier.
Crystron is in this tier. I think this deck is actually good.
I think it is. I think this deck has shown that it can do very well in this format as long as you tech it out to beat the metagame.
Yep.
Yeah. Plus, like this is a deck you can just discard your entire hand and then combo.
True.
So like Droplet and Super Poly are just great.
Scary.
Yeah. Nick and Hunter, you'll have to tell us how Vanquish Soul is doing.
I'll let Hunter start. And I'll give my opinion after.
rude. So Vanquish Soul I think goes in not an FTK, probably right before Crystron. This deck has a lot of teeth. It's but the problem I think the deck has is it's very complex and it's very hard. So like over a long tournament, you're gonna get fatigued playing it. You know, you only get about 5 interactions if you can do full board without considering a non-engine. I I don't know. I think the deck has legs. I have been testing it a lot. It's something I'm highly considering taking just because like it's so interesting and it's got so many different avenues. Holy Sue just being something like a halfness type card, something you can start your plays on turn 0 is very nice. It gives the deck a lot more versatility going second. But the ceiling's a lot lower. There's still consistency issues. You do draw dead hands from time to time. It will reward a very skillful player, though, I will say.
I think a lot of what Hunter presents here is like completely right. I think VS with not even including the fact that like this is all pre-Canine. I think a lot of what the VS deck does now post Duad is very good. It's got a lot of good interactions into the metagame. I think like a deck like Malice, if it doesn't open well, will just lose if VS starts its play with the turn 1 interaction. Like it's got that going for it. Its biggest issue is like Hunter said, its consistency. But I also think another issue is like inherently this deck playing into boards, it's got some options, but I don't know if it has enough options because this deck can't play enough non-engine to make it so your opponent doesn't end on a full board. But you can't play enough breakers in this deck for this deck to like just say I'm gonna full break your board. It's like this weird position because the deck has to play attributes to reveal for their effects. But those cards inherently speaking right now are not well positioned. So it's like I don't know. I think currently speaking, this deck will probably see some success at the NAWCQ, but it won't. It's not gonna be the most. It's like the people that want to play this deck are playing it in preparation for K9 VS. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I agree with Nick. I kind of disagree on the non-engine thing where it's like it can still play like quite a bit of non-engine. Like the build we're testing plays, I want to say somewhere around 15 to 18 non-engine. The problem is your non-engine has to be so specifically targeted towards the attribute. it's hard to justify playing something like a Droll and Lockbird, an Effect Veiler, a Nibiru, a Perulia main deck, just because your attributes don't line up, and if your attributes don't line up, the deck literally just does nothing.
All right. So how represented do you think it's going to be?
I think it's the bottom, not an FTK. I think it's the very bottom.
Okay.
Yeah, representation.
I think you could. There's a world where you could see 2 of it top, and I would not be surprised.
Next up is Orchest. I think you'll see. I'm trying to think. I don't think the average person will see an Orchest on their way to the top.
No, Orchest is like I agree. I don't think Orchest is going to see ton play just because it's like every Orchest variant you see is like Orchest Mitsu, Orchest Fiendsmith,
Yeah.
or like
do feel
Pure, and then it's just like, why don't you just play Ryziel?
Yeah.
I do feel like it's an old fan favorite deck that just got support, and people are going to want to play it at Nats. So
I think it's going to see some play. I agree with Adam. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that
I think the representation for the deck will be decent.
Punk. I don't think it's as bad as these decks, but I think it's probably going to be in representation wise an Ice Barrier.
I think it's
people
fair.
really like Punk.
Pure Punk, yeah.
Probably. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not that familiar with the new Punk cards.
The new Punk stuff facilitates like certain like combo setups. Like you can do a lot of the Fiendsmith stuff in there, but that's not gonna I don't know if that's gonna be enough.
This one's Lunalight, right?
I think that's Liger Dancer. I think.
Okay.
Yep, it is.
Yeah.
Sam, hit us with it.
The Vanquish Soul matchup's kind of tough, but that's probably more relevant for later. I think this deck is good. It's pretty much just Mermail, to be honest, but it loses to Bystials, so I'm gonna have to say it's probably slightly worse. That doesn't. It could still be in that same category.
Yeah.
But I think this deck is good. It's like I mean I've been watching it and not playing it too much, but doing some test hands and watching some gameplay. I think this deck is good. I do think the fact that they're dark attribute
Is a
makes it
downfall.
is a downfall for a deck that's basically trying to do the like Mermail's a deck, right? Like I'd feel comfortable like playing anti-magic arrows in and then like doing my board in main phase 2 and it doesn't matter like how much follow-up you have. I literally feel like this Lunalight is the same kind of deck, right? Like I could go second, anti-magic arrows you, put up 2 Liger Dancers in main phase 2, and it doesn't really matter how much follow-up you have, I'm killing you on turn 4. It's the exact same logic. I just think that the fact that it's dark is a downside, but it could have more upside because people might not know what it does.
Yeah, it'll get the tier power bonus.
Yeah, but this deck is like actually good. I wish I have tested it more to say, and I don't. The thing is in representation, I don't know what people are thinking. But it's definitely either the best deck in this category or it's in the not an FTK. The only reason I'd say it's below Vanquish Soul is just because Vanquish Soul is probably it's a more popular fan favorite archetype, perhaps.
Yeah.
But I think there's similar power levels, although I do think the actual Vanquish Soul Lunalight matchup is probably Vanquish Soul favored.
Gotcha. I'll put it like over here for now.
Yeah, Vanquish Soul actually has a couple of outs to the Liger Dancer, which is pretty funny. Plus the like Borger burn is an alternative win condition.
Yeah, that was something I should have said about VS was that the Nash Knight stuff that you can do now that Holy Sue is a 5 along with Xiaolong is also really interesting, and that is also one of your outs to Liger Dancer.
Yeah, I at first I thought that like that's not really an out. Like I'm just gonna like destroy it when you do that. But then I realized the Vanquish Soul field spell is gonna protect that. So you have the Nash Knight line. You also have the new Vanquish Soul rank 4 if you make it with a dark and a fire that also does it too. Plus, like if you like literally remove all of their follow up and you just like rotate Borger Caesar every turn and not die, you can still win if you have massive card advantage. So anyway, yeah.
That's kind of crazy to think about. So.
All right, and then I think we just have a bunch of decks that are just not real. Gem Knights. I don't think this deck is. You're not.
I played Gem Knights at the Friday locals.
Was it good?
No.
Okay.
But I also didn't figure out what the deck did until probably my 8th game.
Did it feel good during the 9th game?
It felt significantly better. Like it feels like it's like a live twin. It's literally this. Okay, it's live twin. It's just live twin. You can still play. What was crazy was you could still play 18 hand traps in the main, in a deck that wasn't. It didn't feel like it was as normal summon reliant, and it does have like decent searches for Brilliant Fusion going second. But ultimately, it is a Fiendsmith slop deck. Like, the Gem Knight cards give you 2 interactions.
Gotcha.
Like total, and one of them is not good, but they do just shit out a lot of dudes. So, I guess it's worse to draw than it's significantly worse to draw than a live twin. So, it's probably worse than live twin for doing the same thing. So I think it probably deserves Ice Barrier tier, but this deck is playable.
It might
And
see
so far as
success
White
at
Forest is
some
playable.
point, but probably just not at Nats.
Yeah, it's like
we'll
White
see
Forest,
it in the next
basically.
6 months.
Yeah.
Um,
It'll have regional tops.
Monarch, I think, is kind of in the same boat.
Oh, this has support?
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
duet, yeah.
And it's not bad.
it gets
It's
a
not
lot
bad.
of like crazy support. I tried it out when it first came out.
There's gonna dude, one of us is gonna run into a Yugi Boomer playing this. You can book it right now.
Dude,
We're
someone's
gonna
gonna someone's gonna go domain locked at Nats. It's gonna
Yeah,
happen.
no, you can book
Oh,
it.
yeah.
That someone in our group's is gonna lose to this.
Super Quant. I don't think any of us are gonna play against Super Quant.
I'm not reading those cards.
I'm not
Yeah.
reading
I
those
don't-
cards.
They're cool.
Disrespect to exactly. This is the only deck that could take Adam off for Genesis.
You make the big guy.
Adam just plays
You know what,
big
Adam,
bad deck.
have you
Well,
have
you
you
know what,
read the
also-
new Lunalight cards? You will
Yeah, I
like
was
them.
gonna
You
say,
make
you
2
know-
big guys.
Dude, the
You see, but
Lunalight.
it's a
Has
fusion
Adam
deck, so
ever
he's-
has Adam ever played a deck that comboed that long? I mean, that the Lunalight combos are insane.
He played
Like, I'm
Dinos.
not gonna lie.
He played,
I don't really like
Agnes.
super long combo decks.
Dude, the yeah, that's what I thought. The Lunalight combo, you like think if you had 4 Dragoons in your deck. That's like Lunalight, basically. Like
Adam,
4
didn't you-
different monsters that were not once per turn that you have to loop.
That's crazy because
Adam,
Mermail doesn't even have 4 Dragoons.
That's what I'm saying. We just have 1 Dragoons, but like Lunalight has like 3 to 4 cards you use more than once per turn consistently.
Wait, Adam, didn't you play Attic Nester?
He did play. He did.
Yeah, I did play Agnister for a little while.
Okay, like Agnister is like you normal summon the guy, grab the field
You-
spell, and you summon all the
You
colors.
follow
Like
the
it's
same flowchart every
yeah.
game.
it's-
And
No
you just
disrespect
turn
to
your brain
Agnister
off after a
players,
while. I was
but,
like, this is the line that plays around.
yeah, why is Agnister not on this tier list, by the way?
Because it would be an ice
You're
barrier,
zero.
and we'd have too many decks in ice barrier. These are decks you could conceivably play against. That's Agnister. I don't even know what is this the new deck, the new lore archetype.
That's the new
new
psychic
psychic
support.
Cool. All right, moving on. This is Onomat, pure Onomat.
That can't.
I
be a
don't know
real
what Pure
deck.
Automat does, but
So,
It
you're
makes
not playing the Ryzeal
Utopia.
cards. Moving on. What's
What
this
is that?
one?
This is the new
This is-
lore archetype.
yep.
Oh, this is the.
I haven't
Is this
read
the
these.
Fuck! It's the card that lets you draw 2 cards a turn. What's that called?
It's like Art Magia, but they changed it.
No. Wait.
Oh,
What's...
it's power. Oh, it's power. Patron.
What an
Sure.
awful name.
I'm gonna throw that down
That's
here,
pretty
and we're
bad.
not gonna talk about it. Striker,
All right, so
actually.
you. Go
Do
ahead.
you want to talk about it, Nick?
Sure. I genuinely think, and this might be a crazy take, I think this deck is gonna go. I think someone that's gonna go Nets, that's a giant striker, like aficionado, they know how to play the deck and they're very good at it. This deck's gonna reward those players and do very well. You might play against one the entire day, but that one person in the room who's playing it, I think is gonna have a very good day. Because the new cards in Duet are very good. And they do very well into this format. We've seen it do well in OCG, even without Mitsu. I think this deck's got legs. I just think you need to be a very good pilot to play this deck.
So, in terms of representation, do we agree with this general, order?
Yeah, I think.
Yeah,
a
I
lot
think
of
this,
people are
this
just
seems
gonna-
pretty spot on. Yeah.
Mhm.
I think a
Okay,
lot of
I
people
agree.
are going to stick to Mitsu and Malice for the
All
most
right.
part.
So, for our testing purposes, we're going to use this as our benchmark for what we are putting in our decks in terms of side engines, like non-engine. We're going to prepare for this distribution. We're going to change this now in terms of power level. So, we'll just go down the list. I think this is staying right here, and I think this is dropping way down here. Genuinely, this deck is not good.
It's crazy. It's honestly unfathomable they could print a deck with cards as broken as this deck, and it's not good. But you're right. I don't know
so
how to
hard-
describe it, but you're right.
It's like we got the most broken
Sometimes it's-
cards ever, and it was better when you were playing fucking like 3 Dormouse and like 5 Bestials. It's crazy.
Yeah,
I think the power level Malice still exists. I don't know if I throw it all the way down there. I probably could put it in the middle at the bottom. I think it's a
I'm
fair
throwing
spot
it all
for
the way
it.
down there. This deck is not good.
When this deck goes uninterrupted and gets to do what it wants, it wins. Like it just
Literally
wins.
every deck above it also does
I was
that.
gonna say,
But
literally
I
into the
understand-
top
I
10.
don't
Name
understand
one
every
deck
deck
that you can leave go uninterrupted and be like, I think we'll be fine actually. Name one deck above
Pyramid
it. Maybe Vanquish Soul. Maybe Vanquish Soul.
Yeah, I was gonna say Vanquish Soul.
Maybe Vanquish Soul. Maybe
or
Blue Eyes.
actually, or below it.
Or below it. Are you beating a full Lunalite combo? I don't think you are.
Or a live twin Fiendsmith combo.
Or like Live Twin Fiends with like 20 interaction. It's crazy.
You're not beating the. I don't think
I-
you're beating the Gem Knight full combo. I won't
Are
lie.
you are you
I-
being a full Monarch combo? Domain plus a revenue.
This deck is not beating full Monarch combo.
Yeah.
Anyway, so I feel good putting Malice in terms of like how good it is, like in a vacuum, down here.
I guess that's fair.
I think that these decks. Let me order these how I think they would be. Yeah, I think something like that.
I don't know.
So
if
I'm gonna ask this: Do you really think the pure Mitsu deck is better than the Fiendsmith variant?
I could go either way on this. I could
think
go
that
either way.
I was originally kind of on the Fiendsmith, but I think I might have been convinced actually that the pure version is a better meta call. If the meta were hand traps were to change, then I would switch. But
I see.
I mean, if literally every single person plays like six Charmies and Droll in your deck, and like I don't know, I could see that the pure version being solid.
Do we agree on
I
this?
can't argue. I
Like
think it's
hard
very fair.
hard opening the ritual spell is kind of insane. Like if you're actually playing a critical mass of these cards.
Do we agree on like this general order?
I don't know if I'd put Christian up there, but like otherwise.
I think I would put Christian up here. This deck's good.
Yeah,
It's
But
good
if
enough.
you're gonna lose to Lancia, why not just play Malice?
Because Malice is all the way down here, and
we just
Christian is up
established that
here.
Malice is down there. Yeah.
Okay, let me rephrase then. If you're gonna lose to Shifter and Lancia,
See, that's crazy because Malice
would-
players aren't playing Shifter.
Insane.
I mean, some people do,
Some people do, but the vast majority of them are not playing Shifter.
but they should be objective.
It's complicated.
Not main, but side.
I think it's complicated.
I think Crystron could be specifically solid because it has such a strong matchup into Mitsurugi cards
Yeah.
going first.
Like, what,
Like
you're
I
gonna
mean,
board away
Mitsurugi
my
cards are
Sliger?
pretty
Sure.
general. Like they're good going second cards, but like the deck puts up 2 Dawn Dragster. The Mitsurugi cards, I mean, they're blanks basically, right? I mean,
Yeah, it's hard to beat. Like I think the only reason that Christian isn't like one of the best deck in the room is the fact that the best variant plays the Razor cards that kind of don't care about the Christian's main interactions.
Yeah.
yeah, but like if it's just Mitsurugi, if you're just facing Mitsurugi cards, or you have interaction, some other independent interaction to stop that, like basically their inboard completely checks every Mitsurugi card. So
Mhm.
it's more of a meta call than I think a strict power thing. Yeah, basically.
Are there any decks from Shake's Head we want to upgrade to not an FTK?
I
That's
think
what-
Lunalight is good. I think Lunalight is good.
I also
I
think
would
Harald. I think
I would put Regenesis there. Yeah.
I would put Orcus up in non-FTK.
That's crazy. It's
What?
staying there.
Listen, man, I've been playing this deck. I've been its biggest critic.
This
I
is
do
the
think when
third
it
deck
go-
on this list that loses to Lancia.
Yeah, I was gonna say you
I'm putting
just
it
said
further
about
down.
Lancia for Crystron.
Well, yeah, but you play Fiendsmith cards or you play Mitsu cards. It's like,
Oh.
it's not bad. It's genuinely not bad.
You're right.
Well,
it's
some
no
of the
ice
decks in
barrier.
here are not bad. Yeah, some of the decks in here are like not bad.
Like-
Also, I think
Whitewoods
Striker
can win
goes to non-
can win a match if it goes first. You know.
yeah.
See, I think a good striker player belongs in either lose at the bottom of loses to Lancia or the mid level of non FTK. I think an even slightly mid striker player belongs in Ice Barrier.
You see, I would put a mid striker player down here, but a really
what I
good
just
striker
said.
player I'd put like right here.
Yeah.
I don't know. I got 2v1 versus Logan and Nick, and that deck looked scary when there were two
You got
people operating.
2v1?
More
was
so,
crazy.
Logan was yelling at me what to do because I didn't know how to play striker. So
When 2 people play, it's crazy.
Yo, if I had a second person in all of my matches, Malice would be up here. That's all I'm gonna say.
You would be surprised how unhelpful a second person.
How many
That's
brains does it
true.
take to do it? Yeah, how many brains does it take to do a Malice combo when you're under Lancia?
Well, did you draw the backup? If not, pass.
Yeah, I'm not sure the marginal impact of the second person is very high.
It's diminishing returns at the very least.
Well, who is it?
I'm happy with this order for tier 4 and 3.
I know. I think the power of the Heraldic Ryzel deck should be higher. I think it should be the top of the not enough. I truly just think like that deck, if it gets to play, like it just kind of does win.
I mean, yeah, but like every deck if it gets to play, it just wins.
Are the heraldic cards
If Malice
specifically
gets to play, it just wins.
like okay? I don't really not very familiar with these cards, but like if you're playing into a half board, are the heraldic cards as good as Ryziel cards at playing into boards?
They
Like,
they
I don't really
give you a
know.
lot of free exceeds material, so kind of like they can kind of just shit out rank 4s like it's their job. Like this deck can like depending on when what board it's going into, it could slam an X-Ton into a board very easily and things like that. So I don't know. I'm not well versed enough in this deck. I just telling you from what I've seen and what this deck can do. I think this deck's got a lot of gas. You know what I mean?
Okay. Are you considering this deck?
If I want to put the time and effort into learn it, maybe. But I said I'd have to sit down and actually learn the deck.
That means no. I don't know.
Listen,
I'm not a believer. I'm not a believer.
That's again. You don't have to believe me. I'm just for the sake of the video and what we're talking about. I want to reiterate. I think that deck's got legs. You
I
know what
mean, yeah.
And, like the power we're
I
talking
would
about.
say any deck in not an FTK or above, I think it has legs. I would consider any of these 11 decks for Nats. I think that Shake's Head you can play if you really like those decks. You know, Jeff Jones will be playing Malice. Are we settled on this for power level?
Yeah,
I can get behind that. That's
Okay.
fine.
Excellent.
Yeah.
Personally, I still think Malice should go under Monarch. But
I think, frankly, Malice is lucky it's not right here. Howdy. I forgot to record an outro for this video, so I guess I'll just record it in post. That was our what decks we think will be good, both in terms of well represented in the room and what we'll be actually topping. Next week, we're going to be planning our what tech cards and what non-engine are going to be good, based off of the assumptions we made in this video. We've already recorded it. I just need to edit it out. And so that'll be up either next week or very late this week. With that, go ahead, like, subscribe, and we will be including a spreadsheet in the description box below that has our assumptions just detailed down onto it so that you can reference it later, and we'll be maintaining that spreadsheet as we make more assumptions about Nats. Eventually, we're going to be doing, like, team, I guess not team, but, like, group dueling sessions where we discuss the plays as we're doing them. So that'll be coming out probably after the episode after next. Episode after next is going to be what decks we are considering for Nationals and what decks we want to kind of try out. With that, we will see you guys next time. Peace.